Each week when we zoom into wine, we try to get great experts to help us out. And today we get Andy Ulrich, who is the portfolio specialist for Winebow Imports, and quite frankly, just one of my favorite people to work with in the wine industry. She works so hard and she's super dependable, and she's going to be our expert today. And Andy's really enlightened on all things Southern Hemisphere. And so we've got the Yalumba, one of my personal favorite wines in our store from Australia. And it's a 97 pointer. It's a 2022 vintage. It's listed as a Cab Shiraz. And we're in Barossa Valley. And Andy, thank you so much for joining us and giving us the 911 about this brand.
My pleasure. Great to be here. Talking also too about one of my favorite wineries and more importantly, winemaking families since 1849.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this little brand, what tell us about, is there anything like historic about
Yeah.
Yalumba's past?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say that Yalumba from a brand, from a winery, those who know, know. And those who know in the Barossa are going to know Yalumba. There are other wineries that made their mark early in the 1950s, Henschke, Penfolds with Grange and Hill of Grace. But yeah, there's been a winery and a winemaking family, next door neighbors to all of these, that have been around since 1849, starting with Samuel Smith. And then here we are, five, six generations later, Robert Hill Smith. So this is part of the Hill Smith family. Robert Hill Smith, who took the reins in the 1960s, and his daughter Jessica Hill Smith, who is now serving in marketing and also working alongside with him at the winery. But besides being still family owned and operated, a unique point of difference for wineries in the Barossa for that long, they celebrated 175 years.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're going on 177 years, let's say, in November, of family ownership in winemaking. A couple other notable things about Yalumba. First, they have their own on-site cooperage, which is the only one in the Southern Hemisphere. So they are making their barrels, and it is the actual highlight someday when you go to the winery to be able to go in and experience the coopers making those barrels. They source their wood basically French, Hungarian, and Slovenian, and a little bit of American. So they're working with a blend. And really, their barrel program is all about essentially not following a specific recipe, but also just so, besides being still family owned and operated since 1849, six generations of family winemaking. Robert Hill Smith, who is the fifth generation at the helm, he is really considered the pioneer of the family because he is the one in the 1960s started expanding outside of the Barossa with other projects into other regions within Australia, as well as down into Tasmania and New Zealand. But the heart and soul of this winery is in the Barossa. Other notable facts about the history of this winery: number one, they have their own on-site cooperage, making their own barrels. French, Hungarian, American, and Slovenian oak. No set recipe as to which barrels get which program primarily, but it's really all about, what is it that each vintage that essentially the wines are going to need. But it's really quite the experience when you visit the winery to be able to go in there and to see the coopers creating these barrels, toasting them, working with the fire. It's a scene, and when you leave, it's just all toasty and warm, and just it's amazing. I love it. Love it.
Sounds
You're gonna
like you
love
like it. Sounds
it.
like you
It's
like
amazing.
it.
So on-site cooperage. Yalumba also has their own nursery. So they are essentially propagating the health of all the vines that come into Yalumba, as well as surrounding wineries within South Australia, because in South Australia, there is no phylloxera. Very, very strict quarantine rules. And when you go to visit the wineries within the Barossa and the Eden Valley, you will stand in a foot soak for at least a minute, being timed before you are allowed onto the property.
Wow.
That's how serious it is throughout the Barossa.
Hmm.
So on-site cooperage, we've got the nursery. We have got long-standing employees, not only six generations of family winemaking, but when you enter through the doors of the winery, there are these paddles that look like you're entering into a fraternity that are called the VSOPs. And that's not cognac aging. That is essentially very special old people. And that is the list of names of people who have worked at Yalumba for 30 plus years. And you see this listing of these names of multiple similar family names because there's many generations that have worked there. So family owned, it is very much what embraces, like, the overall culture of Yalumba is essentially a sense of community, a sense of longevity, hereditary, and basically the history, the evolution, and the revolution of what is going on in the Barossa, as well as the contributions that the Hill-Smith family has made. So some really cool stuff.
You nailed it,
Yeah.
Andy. Thank you. Thank you. This wine, every time I taste it, is just so spectacular. It's a great ambassador for Australia for the Barossa. Also, really kind of shows you what Cab Shiraz are capable of. Is this their top wine? Where does this lie in their family of wine?
Yeah, this lies in what they call their rare and fine collection, which essentially is going to be the top shelf of that part of their icon program. But this is one of the wines that has like the longest lineage because this is the wine that they've been making since the 1960s. And in 1968 is when they coined this wine, the signature, when Robert Hill Smith decided that this blend, the classic Cabernet Sauvignon and Shiraz, which is embodies everything about the Barossa, that this is when they were going to start naming and honoring a vintage after a person that really embodies the whole spirit of Yalumba. So from 1968 to current day, every release of the signature, there is an honoree. And with this vintage, Paul Medulo, who is a sales executive for Australia and New Zealand, had this vintage named after him. And with that honor comes your name on the bottle, and then your story of Yalumba is on the back part of the bottle. So again, that classic blend, 51% Cabernet Sauvignon, 49% Shiraz. This is all Barossa fruit. The vines of the Shiraz, those vines date between anywhere from 45 years up to 100 years from their various vineyards that they have there. So these are vines that are classified in the Old Vine Charter. So it's just this complete classic blend, aged for 18 months in a combination of French and Hungarian oak, about 20% new. So yes, everything that we love about the marriage of these two varietals coming together and representing essentially the history of the Barossa.
Well, 97 points is not a casual score. This is a top scoring wine for Australia, a top scoring wine for even this wine itself. I've carried it for several years. I think 97 is one of the higher marks I've seen and really beautiful talking about the Cab Shiraz, floral, red fruited and fine. A beautiful iteration of this wine, iconically or ironically, there's a coastal freshness about it. Kelp, brine, crushed shells, giving it is nowhere near the coast. It's um, it's just a fantastic review for such a complicated wine, such an iconic wine, and I think 97 points got my attention. I order it almost without seeing the scores, but I think it sells through at a little faster rate. We're moving through this inventory pretty quickly. When is the optimal time to drink this wine, Andy?
This is a wine that can definitely be enjoyed when you pull the cork. It is a crowd pleaser because again of that combination of the coopered barrels and the aging that is on it. Aging potential definitely up to 10 to 15 years. I like to hold them back, maybe like about 3 years before I would like, crack into it to have a little bit full, more bottle finesse going on. But definitely this is a wine that you don't need to hold back on, and now more than ever, we all need to have a great glass of wine.
You got it. So we have more in inventory than the slideshow says. Just got another case in stock today. Actually, two 6 packs. So we're ready for you if you like this beautiful signature. And we thank you, Andy, for doing this again with us. We love a lot of the wines that you oversee, and we thank you for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you and enjoy.